Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 6 of Social Selling for Newbies live show. I'm Tom Burton, and I'm here with my co host, Brandon Lee, who is in his remote office, it appears today.
I'm live from the Jeep today.
Is this taking work from home to another level or work from car? This is a new thing.
And I mapped out the show's going to end. We do the wrap up. I got to drive to my meeting. I'm like, that's not going to work. So I'm already at my meeting. I'm just in the parking lot. And so, it works. That's the beautiful thing of modern technology and
I know.
virtual salespeople and virtual everything, right?
And your background looks better than mine. So that's what's really sad.
Yeah, just no one get distracted with the cars that go beyond,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
behind me every now and then. So, but hey, welcome everybody. Glad to be live today and chatting with you around nothing has changed. It's just different. And just as a reminder, love to hear who's here in the comments and where you're from. Andre, nice to see you. Thanks for showing up and awesome commenting and engaging with you today. But Tom, why don't you lead the way?
Well, and I know Carson's going to be, I'm sure, jumping on here in just a minute. But before we get into our topic today, which actually I'm probably as excited today about our topic about what we're going to be talking about as I have been on any episode so far. Just because it's getting it into some real meat and some real strategy that you can apply in this world of social selling. But before we do that, I know we have a little bit of news that we want to share. Brandon, why don't you kind of give everybody a little bit of a sneak peek, or at least a sneak peek on what we're going to talk about later?
Yeah, so we've been getting so many messages from people. In fact, I was telling Tom I had two today. I had two text messages today from people that honestly I didn't even know they were following the show. But they said, "Hey, we've been paying attention and love to bring you in and talk to our executive team. Like we need to look at inside selling. We need to look at virtual selling." And so, because of questions like that, we have created Social
Yeah.
Selling HQ, and it's going to be a free community that I put a free training session in there yesterday. So it's going to have free mini trainings. It's going to have great conversations. We'll go live in there periodically for more Q&A. Where this is great, Nick, Butch, Andre. Great to see you guys. And we could, read your chats and be able to respond. But this is where more interactive and all that. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But I'm super excited to have Social Selling HQ
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great place to kind of take what we're doing here to a whole nother level. So, and yeah, it's great because we're getting tons of questions and tons of people really trying to explore this whole area deeper, and that's what the community is going to be all about. So, with that in mind, let's jump into our topic today, which is nothing has changed; it is just different. And I know that is a mantra, Brandon, that you've come up with and you've been talking about for a long time. But what's changed and what's different, or what has not changed and what isn't different, or sort this out for us here.
Yeah, I think what we mean by that and just a little bit of a setup is, and normally when I wear Social Selling suck shirts, it's for a purpose, right? It's because over the last decade, I think social selling was synonymous with shortcuts, a fast sale, efficiency, if you will. And that's what sucks about it is if you use social to send a direct message. I mean, I think I got 2 or 3 of them today. I almost did a post today about my pitch slap count, right? Somebody sent me a connection request. Oh, I'd love to expand my network. Yeah. BS, but whatever. Fine. I'll play the game. And then boom, pitch slap. This is what we do. Here's, how's the best way for us to schedule a call? Okay. Nothing has changed. It's just different. Means that if we did, hey, Carson.
Hey, look who's here. Hey,
there's
Carson.
the man, the myth, and the legend.
Good to see you guys.
Good to have you here. But look, if we if we took a pitch slap approach in real life, it would fail miserably. And that's what I mean by nothing has changed. It's just different. If you go straight to somebody, let's say, hey, it's a Chamber of Commerce event, and you do local networking. You look over, you see someone's name tag, you're like, oh, I want to meet them. You don't walk over and pull out your brochure and tell them how awesome you are and ask for a demo, right? I mean, if you do, you've got probably about a 99.9% chance of being completely rejected, maybe even humiliated and ignored for the rest of the night, because it's rude. So doing that same approach in social, just because it's a direct message, or even doing it in an email, it still has the same negative reception or the same negative effect. So when we say nothing has changed, it's just different. If you're a full cycle account executive, you know better than that. You're never going to start like I talk about the old days when I knocked on doors with boxes of donuts to go in. I knew it was going to take me 4 or 5 times, every 3 weeks or once a month or whatever, just to get down the access is Tom's awesome revenue zone matrix, just to get down the known and liked part of that. That's not even getting to trusted. It takes time. Now, the good news is social will accelerate that. You're not going to wait 4 or 5 months to get there. But if you send the pitch slap, you just use this thing to tell people how great you are and ask for demos. It may feel like it's fast. You're going through a bunch of numbers, but you might have a digital connection, but you don't have a healthy connection
Right.
with those
Right.
prospects.
Yeah, and Carson, this aligns certainly with a lot of things we've talked about on some of your successes. I would assume that it was, quite a few touch points and conversations that you have with your prospects and ever before you actually get into an in-depth business conversation, right? Or like, demos or really digging into the product side of it. Is that accurate?
So accurate. I love this topic because I think, there's so many new tools. The landscape has changed, but the fundamentals stay the same. Just because it might be, our customers are hanging out in different places, like on social, just because there's different ways to engage them, it doesn't change the touch points that are so crucial after you open the door. We can just open the door in different places. I know we love our sports analogies on this show, right? I mean, it's basically you're heading into a different baseball diamond. It looks different. The players might have changed a little bit, but the overarching sport is the same. You're looking to get on base. You're looking to create conversations and meaningful dialogue. You're looking to understand the customer priorities and the industry shifts, and the tectonic plates and how they're shifting, and the ways that you can, perform social listening. All of these things have changed. That's what's different. But you're not going to find success. You could be the greatest LinkedIn connector, or you could spend all day, every day messaging people on LinkedIn. But if you're not transparent, responsive, investing in that relationship, bringing value,
Adding value.
you're not going to have any success at all.
Well, and I think that
That's so
what
good.
never is going to go away, right, is professionalism, which is what you're talking about. That's the simplicity of it. And I guess good manners, right, which is kind of a part of professionalism, right? So your point, Brandon, of the pitch slap, I mean, to me, that's just not very professional. It's like
Well, and
it's just not a
not only
great way to
that,
handle
not only that, it doesn't make logical sense. And here's what I mean by it is at any given time, and anyone correct me if this data is wrong. And I think this is going to speak a little bit to Nick's question about how can you sell in such a price driven market right now. At any given time, 1 to 3% of your prospect base is in market. Like right now, they're interested, they're researching, whatever, however you want to explain it. But if you approach 100% of your prospects with the pitch slap approach, hey, look how awesome I am, let's get a demo, that means 97 to 99% of the people you reach out to, you're going to be trying to sell when they're not in a buying mode. It's hitting a wall. right? And you've soured that relationship because now their culture with you, their perception of you is that you're a sales. I've got a couple words that I use, but I'll try not to use it on a live. But you're a poor salesperson. You're selling because it's your sales journey. You're not concerned with my buyer journey. Um, there's a word I use that starts with the D and ends in bag that goes out, but I won't use it on a live show. But But it means is 97 to 99% of those people you're trying to sell before you've earned the opportunity to sell or before they're in a buying mode. And they might be in market in a month or 2 months, and you've ruined the opportunity.
Well, on top of that, and I know, Carson, this is a big part of your playbook, but on top of this, and you're right, probably 97% or more are not in market or are looking for whatever it is we're trying to sell. But you have an opportunity by building a relationship to then start creating the know, like, and trust, and then using that as a platform or a springboard, and then to start creating interest and demand in what you're doing. I mean, how many times
Yeah.
have you seen over and over where you build a relationship and then they're like, well, what do you do? What do you do? You know, and they're very interested in understanding more how you might be able to help them because you have a foundation of that, at least like and trust. If you go with the pitch slap and you've created that toxic connection, I really see that there's like, you can make a connection that can go one of two ways, right? You either can turn into a healthy connection or a toxic connection. And the pitch slap, like I'm sure you do this, if you get pitch slapped, I'll just disconnect from them on LinkedIn or mute them or whatever, right? That's certainly a toxic connection versus a healthy connection. But if you can build a healthy connection and then create demand over time that and get an interest in your product, then you have a chance that when they get in market, and you may be able to accelerate helping them get in market, right? And I would suspect, Carson, that's got to be 90% of your playbook, you know, especially in an enterprise environment, you know, that aren't, you know, that not everyone's sitting around ready to write, you know, 9-figure checks every day.
Well, and to the point that Brandon was making, look, there's just no shortcuts here. You know, it again, the pathway to create that touch point might look different. We can connect with people in different ways, but the last thing you want to do is get lazy around your approach and do something that is going to jeopardize the relationship right out of the gate. Because you have the opportunity, even if they're not in market today, to the wonderful point that was made, you sacrifice anything that was possible by shooting yourself in the foot right out of the gate if you pitch slap. You know, we've talked about this numerous times on this show and others. That it really comes down to quality of messaging, quantity of quality outreaches, and then consistency of execution over time. And this really fits into that quality boat. I may not be able to add value for a potential prospect today, but you want to be mindful of building a community around what you're doing, providing resources if you can, investing in that relationship, even if it's not, you know, you're not trying to create a deal day one of the relationship. You're just trying to create a rapport and focus on landing that step. And if you do that with integrity and professionalism, your probability of that turning into a meaningful relationship goes up exponentially.
Yeah. And that can happen, as Brandon said, in a week, in a month, or it could happen in a year.
Yeah.
But you haven't taken yourself out of the game, right? You haven't created that toxic connection that you have no chance with, or you
And
have to
that's
start
the and
bailing
that's
yourself out of.
well, and that's the key, right? I think what Carson has done, just to use his experience as an example, because let's say somebody you reach out to 100 people in a month, just for numbers. If you do the pitch slap and the numbers are accurate, you're trying to sell to 97 to 99 of those people when they're not in market. So, you know, even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then, and a dead watch is right twice a day, right? So you're going to get a little bit of success, but you also now have, maybe you've got 97 digital connections because they've accepted the connection request, but because of your pitch slap, you don't have a healthy connection. And let's say of those 99 people, that 10% of them move into market in the next 60 days. That could have been that backflowing of your pipeline that was willing and ready to reach out to you, but because of the way you showed up with the pitch slap, they threw up the wall, they disconnected, they muted you, they had a sour taste in their mouth because of you. You know, they see your picture, your name, go, oh, that guy again. Whatever it may be, you didn't help yourself grow exponentially.
Well, and take now the percentage that you may have an opportunity to actually help them move in market, right? So again, if you can be the trusted guide and you can guide them, or they're willing to let you be guided a bit, now you have also a percentage that maybe you're going to come into in market just organically anyway. But then you have another set of people that you have the opportunity to at least potentially help guide and create that interest and get them in market at that point. So you've eliminated all of those opportunities. So now you're looking for literally the needle in the haystack, right? I'm looking for that 1 in 100 or 2 in 100 that says, oh my God, thank God that you asked for a demo, because this is exactly what I'm looking for right now, and that does happen, but that's, like you said, more of a blind squirrel.
Yeah.
One other thing I just wanted to mention, Butch points out a really good point. Buyers are getting younger too. And I write about this in my book, and I know, Carson, we've talked about this. Younger buyers' tolerance for the pitch slap and tolerance for unprofessionalism and a toxic connection is way less even than I think older buyers, if you will. It's like you will get disqualified and slapped back, right? You'll get slapped back out faster with the younger buyers than you would maybe with less younger buyers. So your risk and your odds even get worse as we have younger buyers coming into the equation.
Yeah. Tom, I would love, and for everybody, I asked Tom beforehand to do this. This isn't Tom self-promoting. Tom, would you show your revenue metrics from your book? Because this is really exactly, I think, what we're talking about. And Carson, I love, your input on it as well. But when I look at Tom's revenue matrix, he's got across, the X, it's the X, right? The X goes horizontal. I'm not very good at math, but you go across the X axis, you're looking at the being known, being liked, and being trusted. And I equate that to the,
Did that work?
here you
Does
go.
that show up?
Yeah, look at that.
There it is.
Oh my God, we are multimedia professionals here.
So we go along the X axis of being known, liked, and trusted. And we talk about, the example or the analogy of, door knocking every 3 weeks somewhere and bringing donuts. And it's your goal the first time you go there isn't to be up in the revenue zone in the top right corner. It's just to be known and drop off a card and say, I want to introduce myself, enjoy the donuts, and you leave. And that's a success. And that's the process you go through. And so we move from left to right with a lot of our day-to-day, I call it the social two-step of commenting and posting. And that's what we do on the x-axis. And then the y-axis comes in, and this is where we go to create demand. And for the question earlier about how do we sell in this price-sensitive market that we're in, well, you got to create demand. And this is where having a content strategy around your post, having a content strategy around the things that you comment and how you comment. Don't comment about your product. No one cares. Don't comment about your features and functions. No one really cares. But when you're commenting through a strategic yellow brick road, as Tom has in his book, you're able to then, through your commenting and through your posting, people are naturally, as they're reading it and engaging with you, they're moving themselves up the y-axis. So your behavior is moving them to the right on the x-axis. The content you're sharing and them engaging with it, because they now know you and they like you and they're learning to trust you, they start paying more attention to your content. You're moving them closer or further and further up to the top right portion. This is, nothing has changed. It's just different. This is what we've always done in sales. We just did it toe to toe or face to face, or maybe we did it more on calls, or we did it at trade shows, but it's the exact same thing. And the cool thing, and then I'm going to shut up, is that with social media, we can accelerate this process faster as long as we don't try to do shortcuts. Go slow to move fast. Don't try and take the shortcuts. What happens after 90 days and you've done this prospecting to say 100 people a month, over 90 days, you got 300 people that you've been developing healthy connections with instead of a digital connection with an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah, and again, the thing that's different, and Carson, of course, we our favorite topic, right, is that you can cover a lot more ground socially. You hit a lot more numbers and a lot more. Your probabilities go up a lot higher because how many people can you see with donuts every day, right? You can do a lot more online.
Right.
I definitely couldn't
So I
see a
keep
lot of people with donuts every day and maintain, a respectable figure either. But I love this. You guys hit a home run here, and here's why. Because look, social selling solves a problem. It solves the problem of what you just said, Tom, of you can't optimize the number of people that you can touch and stay in front of and stay top of mind with without leveraging social because your customers are out there. You want to run a diversified portfolio, right? I still very much encourage and endorse doing door pulling where it makes sense and it's higher probability and getting in front of people, making that face-to-face connection, going to trade shows. There's value that can be brought out of all of these, but having a diversified portfolio and not discriminating against any potential paths to relationships is the approach that we're endorsing here. So social can be a variety of different things. Figure out, we've talked about this before. Where are your customers? How can I get in front of them? How can I engage them? And there's so many phenomenal examples of how you can do things that are very, very focused. I've had scenarios where I had no relationship with, executives in an organization, or we were being ghosted, or we were being blocked in certain parts of the business. And so we used social listening and social tools to figure out, okay, who else should we be talking to? And, send very targeted reach out to some of the executives, find out more. As you start to have some of these discussions, now you're armed with valuable intel that can open even more doors. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. And then on the flip side of that, as you also just alluded to, Tom, the scale approach is there because I can also do campaigns that build a growing community around what I'm trying to do. And then Brandon, like you said, I'm just continuing to try to grow that awareness until it moves into demand, until it moves into market. And guess what? When that need is clear and present, who are they going to engage? Somebody that's been top of mind, that has been professional, that has been adding value and putting things out there all along, not pitch slapping. And that is ultimately who they're going to buy with. I think we've got to get away from that false sense of success that we might have gotten because 1 out of 1,000 pitch slaps works. And, we see it work and then we say, oh yeah, this works. I'm going to just keep doing this. No, we've got to find the process that is most conducive to creating relationships and investing in them over time. That's it.
And buyers have so much more power now, right? And that's the thing that we forget. It's so easy for buyers to put their walls up and kick you out of their circle of trust. They can disconnect from you, they can mute you, they can send you to spam, they can unsubscribe, they can ignore your calls, they don't have to return your voicemails. Like, it's harder for us to move down the x-axis, but in some ways, but our behavior can move us down that x-axis very quickly. But it's behavior driven.
Yeah, well, and I've seen, if you just take the opposite approach of the pitch slap and you're just professional with people and you're interested and you're looking to help, the speed of which you can move along the x-axis is very quick, right? Much faster, like you were saying, Carson, about the velocity with using the sort of omni-channel social strategy approach is way better. And the other thing as you were giving that example, I'm going to date myself, but how many times back in the day if you were doing a sales visit, an in-person sales visit with donuts or whatever, and you get there and the person you really wanted to see is not available, or you're kind of looking around going, "God, is Mary going to free up or is she going to come out of that?" You're kind of hoping, and then you have to leave because you didn't get that person. Then what? You were kind of screwed, right? But now in social, if you're not, is your point, Carson, I may connect with so-and-so, but I now I can use that as a way to potentially connect to the other people that I actually want to also build into my community and put together. So I have a means of doing that.
Yeah.
I can learn about them. I can know about what they do, and which I've never had that capability before in the whole, analog world of doing everything that are there. So it's yeah, it's amazing. And I guess the whole point of the show, right, is to nothing has changed from the need to be professional, build relationships, provide value, all of that, right? That's what we said. That's the thing that has, but what's different is the ways that we can go about that and the efficiency of which we can go about it. And not just because of us, but look at how many more people we can help, how many more people we can serve. I mean, look at it from that viewpoint. Don't look at it, well, look how much more I can sell. Look at it, how much more people you can serve. And if you take that mindset, we've seen it happen much, much faster.
And the need to
No,
control controllables. I think that's the other key. That's always been important in sales too, is control the controllables. And these are variables that you can control. I can control who I reach out to. I can't control who's going to respond. I can't
Right.
control when they are going to necessarily need what I have to offer, but I can control how I show up, how I create that relationship and how I invest in it, and then how I react and respond when there's an opportunity to have a discussion.
Yeah.
and I think tactically, one of the best things that I've seen work is that combination of the one-to-one and the one-to-many content, right? It's using a social post, the one-to-many, around a specific topic that's, one of the milestones of your yellow brick road, right? And then once you post it, you go look in your database and go, which 5, 10, 20 people in here would want to know about this information? And then sharing it with them, not in the way of pitch slapping, but saying, hey, Carson, as a fill in your title, I thought this would be appropriate for you because XYZ, love to hear your thoughts. And if you send that out to 15 or 20 people and you get 10 or 20% of them that come in and they read and they comment, all of a sudden you're the center of this conversation with a bunch of ideal customers, and they're looking at you as being that expert voice because you're acting like one. If you want them to see you as a trusted advisor, you need to give trusted advice.
Well, and one thing that I learned in researching what we were talking about that I put in the Revenue Zone book is buyers too want to be professionally led to the Revenue Zone, right? They don't want to go down rabbit holes on Google and get confused, and they want somebody or some company to lead them, and they're looking for it in general, right? They're not looking for them to control their buyer journey. They're looking for them to enable their buyer journey and help that buyer journey. So to your point, Brandon, if you can do that by what you're saying and you're looked at as that trusted advisor, then they're going to go, hey, okay, Brandon looks like a pretty good guy for me to look up to and follow and enable that buyer journey. So there's just all of these additional benefits that start layering on top of each other, which is again why we're so passionate about the area here.
Yeah.
And I'll just say one more thing.
I always encourage practical application too, Tom. Think about your job is to create a conducive environment for relationships to happen. And so that's why it's so important to figure out, okay, who are the key stakeholders that I'm going to ultimately need to forge relationships with? What is going to be valuable to them? What are resources that I can bring to bear for them? And then, think about that ability to kind of create that groundswell. We talk about that all the time. It's not necessarily reaching out to 1 or 2 or 3 buyers, but who are all the key influencers? Who are the folks that would have to be involved in a decision? How can I de-risk that decision by showing up with value and creating those relationships and really being at the pulse of that customer organization? And then also not relying on those stakeholders that I'm connecting with to sell my product up the chain.
Right.
I need
right.
to have the relationship with the chain so I can de-risk everybody's decision. That's what ultimately prompts them to sign off on it.
Which is sort of the
So,
ultimate guide, right? Ultimate trusted advisor.
so Carson, what's the movie that comes to mind from today's conversation? You got one? Tom?
It's a good question.
Wall Street. No, what's the Wolf of Wall Street? No, it's not it. That's the opposite, right?
Yeah. It's funny how I think I shared that. I remember, watching these movies in my 20s and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And now I just kind of laugh at the approaches, right? Because it's the antithesis of what a successful seller does.
Well,
Yeah,
and just one
absolutely.
last point, and then I know, Brandon, we kind of want to give some more data on this. Speaking of, Brian saying we can't say the M word.
We can't Moneyball.
Oh, you said it. Oh my God. Okay.
Don't take
I didn't say it. I didn't say it this time.
Brian's probably not going to come back again. We probably see
I'm scared him.
we Moneyball pitch slapped him and he's gone. But I think an important part is that to really reiterate here is that this is an omni-channel or I'll just say omni-channel strategy, right? To your point, Carson. This isn't just about, hey, I'm on LinkedIn. This is about how I
right.
use social, how I use potentially email, how I use live events and shows, how I use all of those things together. But I think the catalyst or maybe the foundation of it is social because we're doing so much more inside behind our computer versus, outside, carrying donuts into an organization. And we want to do that because of the probabilities and the volume and the velocity that we can go. Um, so anyway, it's
Yeah.
it's not just LinkedIn, and I think that's important to reiterate.
Yeah. And I mean, I think just to throw my little touch on that. We say social selling for newbies, and social is just one of a few channels or mediums, if you will, that you use to communicate to people. I think it's a very strong one when used properly, but it doesn't negate the need for email and phone and text and trade shows and other communication mediums.
Yep.
So should we share our news now? Should
Yeah.
we should we get
So,
to
so,
kind of
so
the
Brandon, go
fun
ahead and give
stuff?
us a little bit more news, and I'll bring up a screenshot here in just a second.
Oh, look at you. Well, look, we're just happy to be along with this. We're happy I think we found a, kind of a group of people that are excited and wanting to learn more just like us. Like I think we've all cut our teeth on a few things. We've done some good stuff. We've had some challenges and we're still learning. That's why we called this newbies. But we put together Social Selling HQ. If you go to socialsellinghq.com, it's cool. If anyone you haven't heard of Mighty Networks, we use them as a platform. It's really cool. It's really easy. And we just want to add a bunch of value to people. Like we want to demonstrate everything we've talked about. So free community, we can chat, we can talk. We've got some free mini lessons in there. We've got some lives that are going to go on in there. That way there's more interactive Q&A. I just think it's really fun to be able to be a part of something in early stages and see what value we offer people and other people bring to the table. Carson, what do you think about it?
I think it's amazing, to see this, and we've talked about this before, because I think some of us have been using these practices for some time. But Brandon, to your point, we continue to learn and we continue to share stories, and that's how we get better. I just think of a decade of social selling in my career that even within the last month, I've come up with new resources, new techniques, new
Mhm.
tactics. And this gives us all a great place to share, ask questions, continue to learn from each other, and advance this movement of responsible social selling.
Yeah.
I,
And
I,
I
I
just
hear
think of things
dings. I
like,
hear dings, Brandon, that people are signing up. They're
oh,
getting
dings, I like it.
so.
Well, and I just think of things like Carson, you've said this a couple times over the last few weeks about social listening. And I know what Navigator can do. I use that for social listening. But it dawned on me when you said it today. I'm like, huh, I wonder what else Carson uses for social listening. So it's a place that, we have a section in there on, technology, no promotion, but just us going, hey, this is what I use, this is what I like, this is how I use it. But just really a place for all of us. I think it's, rising tides raises all ships and we're all newbies and let's go get better. So LinkedIn user said they signed up. That's awesome. I think they're the same person maybe that said preach it, Brandon, preach on Brandon earlier. And I wanted to acknowledge them and say thanks for the encouragement, but I don't know who you are because it pops up as LinkedIn user. So but right on. Thanks for signing up and the encouragement. That's awesome.
Yeah, and as you get into the community, I mean, obviously this is brand new and we're just getting started, but let us know what you want to include in here because that's the
Yeah,
beauty of this platform. We can include all kinds of different topics. We can include and organize it. I mean, let's get some feedback all the way around as we go through, and also all of the replays that we're doing will be put in here of the shows. You can subscribe to the podcast, so it's just one place for everybody to kind of come together, and we're excited about it.
very cool. Oh, and it's Mitch. Our buddy Mitch is a LinkedIn user. Thanks, Mitch. Right on. Mitch and I had lunch yesterday together too. LinkedIn relationships becoming real friendships and sharing meals. One of the
You
best
didn't have
fried
donuts,
chickens
but
I've
you had
had.
chicken fried steak, right? Or chicken and
We
chicken
had
and
well, he had fried chicken and Mitch was healthy. He had Brussels sprouts. I was not healthy. I had mashed potatoes, but worth every penny of it.
All good in moderation.
That's
That's
right.
right. That's right.
All right.
Great call out too, Brandon. I loved your call out about the social listening piece. And I would encourage people, ask your colleagues, ask your peers where they get their news. That's what I did when I moved into a new industry vertical. I started asking, where do you get your news about this industry? I subscribe to about 5 different trade magazines and journals that I get a daily subscription, email alerts. Is another great way. And then obviously the Sales Navigator feed is a phenomenal way to see what's top of mind, what are people talking about, so that I can show up with perspective and point of view. And it just makes you better. That's what these tools do. They make you better.
It creates you as influential when you're in the know and you're reading, you're listening, you're posting, you're sharing with people. Go, hey, I saw this. What do you think? And it makes you influential, and that's at the end of the day. It's not what we know, but who we know, and that's what influence is.
Well said.
Well, speaking of who we know, we have the next few weeks. We've got a lot of different guests coming up. I think we have 3 weeks in a row with guests.
All
Next week
right.
we have a sales manager from Salesforce who is really proficiently using social selling and is going to have a lot to talk about a case study and how he's using things within Salesforce. That'll be great. And I know we have
Cool.
quite a few other guests that over the next few weeks and quite a few in the queue between now and the end of the year. So they won't just have to listen to the 3 of us or for the next few weeks or so. But yeah, thanks everybody. Once again, I think really great comments, great and great to hear from some of the feedback that we're having here. Any final words, gentlemen, before we sign off?
Thank you to the podcast listeners. And if you're listening, you're finding value, please share us with your friends, your colleagues that could use us, and anybody else. Like we really appreciate the subscribes. That's going to help us get the word out and really help a lot more people.
Yeah, thanks for the growing community and just keep the feedback coming. Love getting the, just the contributions as well. People that are reaching out saying, hey, I'd love to contribute to the conversation or be on the show. We're all learning together. So it's wonderful when we can tap into the collective brain trust that this group has to offer. So thank you and keep it coming.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So thanks to Andre and Nikki and Butch and Mitch and Brian and everybody else that was on, and all the podcast listeners. We don't know who you are, but we really appreciate you.
And we'll see you in the community. So remember socialsellinghq.com and really easy to sign up and go from there. All right, everybody. Have a good week.
And happy social
Carson.
That's right.